Welcome to the In My Opinion Show with Ronald Barry Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can view the In My Opinion Show on the internet through YouTube, MySpace, Facebook, and Ustream. Go to the search field and type in RBRIMO to view our complete catalog of shows. That's capital RBRIMO. That stands for Ronald Barry Robinson, In My Opinion. We have a wonderful show in store for our millions of viewers worldwide. We have two distinguished guests. We have Miss Linda Nyquist, PhD, research at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, in the Geriatric Center. We have Miss Denise Cornish-Zerker, clinical research nurse of cardiovascular medicine, also from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Welcome both to the In My Opinion Show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
You're welcome. We're going to talk about a study that's being conducted throughout the United States and Australia. Aspirin may help older people to live well for longer by delaying the onset of illnesses. In fact, previous studies have shown that low-dose aspirin reduces the risk of heart attack, stroke, and vascular events in middle-aged people. May help to prevent cognitive decline of forms of cancer such as bowel cancer. However, aspirin is known to have adverse effects such as bleeding that may offset the benefits. Before doctors can know for sure if aspirin is helpful in prolonging a healthy life in older people, the benefits must be weighed against the risks. Who would like to start first? Okay, you are the experts.
Well, I'll take a shot at it. So this is a study really that's trying to answer the question, if people take a low-dose aspirin, older people, does that really prevent changes in memory and thinking and really allow them to keep up their strength and physical ability as well as they age? When you think about getting older, a couple of things you want to keep are the ability to remember and to reason, and also to move around and be able to visit family and friends. So, as you mentioned earlier, aspirin, like any other medication or almost anything we do, has a risk with it. So this is really a study that's trying to look at benefits and risks and really try to answer the question, do the benefits outweigh the risk? And again, the benefits being memory and thinking and physical abilities. And what's really unique about this study is that it's focusing on older adults who are most likely to have memory and thinking problems, and it's also very large. There's going to be 19,000 older adults across the United States and Australia that we hope will participate. And so it's the kind of study that doctors are going to be able to use the results.
You know, on this study, is that just going to be combined with Australia and the United States, or will there be a move to expand it, in other countries?
Well, I think what generally happens with these studies is they answer some questions and they create other questions. So it'll take a little while to find out what this does answer and what the new questions are that come from the study. So it could be expanded to other cultures, other countries, but it probably will be with slightly different questions.
Well, what might some of those questions be? Do you have any idea?
Well, the research with younger people, and younger being under 60,
that's me.
right, me too, suggests that there may be some value in aspirin in preventing certain kinds of cancers. Probably the strongest evidence was with colon cancer, but there's some ideas with skin cancer, maybe prostate cancer, some other kinds of cancers. There's also some suggestion about it may, besides its bleeding risk, may have some risk associated with some eye diseases too. So we may answer questions about dementia or changes in memory and thinking, and some questions about physical ability with Aspirin, but we also may have new questions about cancer or eye disease, or who knows.
Well, let's hope that we can find some cures and some of these things. I understand. Let me ask you this question. Maybe one of you or both could answer me this. All the times that I go to the doctor, the doctor's asking me, what my dosage is on aspirins, all right? How many milligrams? And I'm saying, I tell them 325 because that seems to be the norm. And, in all the bottles of aspirins that you buy, in different, wherever, you can purchase them. I mean, then I noticed that, when I got involved in your program, you're talking about a third of that almost. What is the reasons? What is the reasons for that? I mean, I know it's a study, but the norm has been ever since I can remember. Is 325 milligrams a day. So exactly. Are the vast majority of us, are we getting bad information, or we just don't, or the people that should know, they don't know?
Not at all. A full strength aspirin is 325, but the recommended dosage, most of the information that's coming out now is 81 milligrams, which is considered a baby aspirin. So with the Aspirin study, we're looking at 100 milligrams, and what we want to know is the results at that dose. Do the risk outweigh the benefits? Or do the benefits outweigh the risk at 100 milligrams? So we have a lot of information on 81 milligrams, but not enough if you move it up to 100 milligrams.
Okay. Now, when I visited, your offices in Ann Arbor, you were talking about that Caucasians have had their studies done. I guess that's what I heard. Okay, and then this study is primarily geared to what group?
Well, what happened was there was a small study done in Australia to start with, and the results looked promising, and so the researchers there wanted to expand the study, and they invited researchers from the United States to become involved. And the goal from the very beginning was to have whites, African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, everybody represented in large enough numbers so we'd know about risks and benefits for each group. So they opened up the study, started about 2 years ago, and like many research projects, a lot of Caucasians enrolled in the study. And then what happened is it looks like if we continued at that rate, there wouldn't be the opportunity for sufficient numbers of African Americans or Hispanics to enroll. It'd be all taken up by the whites, and then we wouldn't have results for other groups. So about a year and a half ago, they said all sites in the United States can at this point no longer enroll Caucasians. We want to focus on creating opportunities for other groups to participate. So we in Ann Arbor have been focusing on African American community, Hispanics, Asians, and so currently we may someday in the Aspirin study go back and enroll more whites, but currently we have enough for results for Caucasians.
Well, go ahead.
And that brings us to our dilemma, is the low enrollment of minorities with basically all research across the board. The education part of that is making sure everybody is equally represented. How can you prescribe an aspirin for everybody if you haven't got the correct research and testing to back it up? To make sure that everybody's represented in your research so that when you give your recommendation, it is truly for everybody.
Well, when it comes to studies and things of that nature, maybe that's one reason why African Americans, are reluctant, because they have been lied to, in some of these studies. Take for instance the Tuskegee experiment. All right. So me personally, in my opinion, maybe that could be if people could get past that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm taking an aspirin. Is it an aspirin, or you know what I mean, or is it a placebo, or is it something else?
Right. And I think that sometimes it's experience in studies, but there are all sorts of things in place now that we as researchers are required to make sure people understand what's involved in the study, what the risks and benefits are. And there is, at all institutions that do research, something called an institutional review board. And it's experts as well as community members that look at research projects. And you may recall there's a consent, an informed consent. So before anybody gets started in a study, there's everything in writing about what's involved, including the risks and benefits. Now that institutional review board with community members as well as experts in the field have looked at that and agreed that that represents what's involved. So when we talk about getting people involved in research, there's actually opportunities to be involved in the review of research as well, to be represented on these boards that ensure the safety.
Well, play the devil's advocate here for a quick minute. This same conversation, for my research, was also done, during, the government experiment as well. All right.
Yes.
And rightfully so. I think people of color, have that natural fear. All right. What are they? What are they giving me? This, that, what
What's
not?
in that pill? Yeah.
And me personally, I think the program would be beneficial. If we had all of those, checks and balances. All right. And other than just the professional people.
Right, and that's why I agree. I think that there really needs to be people in the community that are involved in these checks and balances, and there are opportunities. The U of M Flint, I'm sure, has an institutional review board with community members. Every institution that does any kind of research. So any of your viewers that are interested in that,
they do. They have a separate IRB board. And even when I'm going over the consent form with our participants or potentially eligible participants, I always stress that the IRB board is the patient advocate.
Okay.
They're the research police. They make sure everything is done according to what we said we were going to do and nothing above that. They're the ones who approve it from the initial start, and they also review it annually to make sure that no one's being harmed, questions are being answered, and everything's being conducted as it should.
When I filled out the paperwork when I was there, I felt that I felt comfortable, in signing it and becoming a person that's involved in the program. And I'm hoping that that some answers can be found at the conclusion of the 5 years.
And being a nurse, that's part of the part that I really enjoy about research is educating the participants, whether you choose to participate or not. you walk away with a sense of being informed. I got more information than when I came and sat down and talked with Dr. Nyquist or myself. I have more information that I can walk away with, even if you're not. Even if you decide not to participate, educating the participants, that's what the informed consent is giving you enough information to make a informed decision.
Absolutely. What outreach are you is the University of Michigan Ann Arbor conducting? The reason I say University of Michigan Ann Arbor, so there's no confusion with the University of Michigan Flint.
Okay.
All right. I want to give the University of Michigan their due. All right, respect. Okay, there's nothing wrong with the University of Michigan Flint either. Okay.
Right.
But what outreach, other than coming on the show, and hopefully as we talked about it, I'll make it happen. For your group to come on this other venue. Okay. But what other venues do you have in place? I mean, outreach.
Well, we are just beginning to think about, and we're going to be contacting the U of M Flint to see if any students want to work with us on the project up here. But I think that, as Denise says, part of the education process is we're more than willing to meet with any group of any size. And part of the education is really, what's different now from Tuskegee is people have an opportunity to learn and what questions they can ask about a study before they become involved. And part of what our job is, in a sense, is not only this particular study, but to let people know what research is, how they should be informed and control over their participation in the study. So we're more than willing to speak to anyone who might be interested.
Well, now, how would people get in touch with? I know we have a phone number there, but how else? What other ways can people get in touch with? With your study group?
We also have our phone number listed and an email address. For community outreach, we've been so far as senior centers, health fairs we've participated in, exercise groups, that's our favorite.
Okay.
We currently have plans to collaborate with an Alzheimer's group and do some brain health education and seminars. What else have we done?
That's what we try to do health fairs, but what we tend to do in health fairs is we have a lot of good information on aging, everything from healthy eating to how to get a good night's sleep. So we bring lots of information for people and distribute it in health fairs and groups.
Men's Health Symposium.
Okay. What about like your local YMCA's and YWCA's, et cetera?
We're currently trying to get a relationship with the local in Ann Arbor and the surrounding cities. There's a connection we may have with Silver Sneakers. That's a exercise group with aging adults that we're going to try to reach out to people of that group.
Okay. Now, I understand it's a 5-year study. Now, how long has the study been going on at this point? The one that you're conducting right now.
So our Ann Arbor site for the study we started seeing our first participants in the study just 1 year ago.
Oh, okay.
So we're just finishing up our first 1 year visits for some people, and we're starting new visits for others. So.
Okay. Well, how does it factor into this 5-year study? Now, if people come in, and you've already been, it's been underway, for 4 years. I mean, for 1 year. Now, so does that mean that there's 4 years, or the people that are just coming in? Does that mean they will have the whole 5 years?
It's a very good question, and part of it depends on funding. So the National Institute on Aging is funding this study in the United States, and they tend to fund things in 5-year blocks.
Okay.
So, but they do extend the blocks, and so it depends on what the federal budget is.
Okay.
It's possible people coming in tomorrow may only be in the study for 3 years or 4
Okay.
years.
Okay.
But we would hope that the study is promising, and that there will be money available to really get a full 5 years or even longer for some of the earliest participants.
The more information they get
Mm-hmm.
is more helpful
Okay.
when determining whether to extend the study or not.
What has been the reception? Okay, I don't know if you know if you have contact with with people that are conducting it in Australia or not, but this within the year that you've been conducting it at the University of Michigan, what's been the feedback?
We've had a positive feedback.
Mm-hmm.
What we're mainly running into is participants who are already prescribed an aspirin by their doctor.
Okay.
Those people we wouldn't want to participate because we want them to follow their doctor's recommendation. So basically, if they're not prescribed an aspirin already by their doctor,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting a lot of participation from those people.
Okay.
And one of the things too is that particularly in a 5-year study, people's health may change over time.
Sure.
And even if they start the study and are not prescribed an aspirin, they may get prescribed an aspirin later on. And we certainly would stop our aspirin because we have a placebo in the study as
Mm-hmm.
well. So half of the people get the 100 milligram aspirin, and half the people will be taking a pill that looks exactly the same, but it doesn't have any aspirin in it.
Okay.
And so we don't know who's getting the aspirin, real aspirin,
Right.
and nor would the participant. So over 5 years, when it comes to health-related questions, we're going to always assume they're taking aspirin to be safe. So if they get prescribed aspirin, we stop our study medication. If they have a surgery coming up, people are often told, even dental work, often are told to stop their aspirin before surgery. And we would
because it thins blood.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly.
Correct.
So we would stop our study medication. And when their doctors tell them it's safe to start aspirin again, we restart our study
Okay.
medication. But in general, we would, regardless if a person is actually continuing to take our study medication, we'll keep up with them every year over the 5 years, do their memory and thinking measures for them, and check their cholesterol and their blood pressure and their kidney function. And it's a possibility over the 5 years that someone may have changes in memory and thinking. And changes in memory and thinking can be due to sort of a chemical imbalance, just a short-term chemical imbalance.
Okay.
So we'll work with them to do some blood tests and some more memory and thinking measures to see what's causing those changes. And if we can't find an explanation in terms of blood work, then we'll offer them a more thorough evaluation by a physician to look for any possible dementia.
Okay. Okay. I've noticed, or I've noticed that there's a lot of talk about older people, especially in the African American race, having Alzheimer's. Okay, whether it be from certain stressors, what have you. So I'm hopeful that that this study might get to some kind of medication if that's what they need. All right, to catch it maybe in an earlier stage. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think, when you think about research, there's
Mhm.
research to prevent something from happening. There's research how to best diagnose something or catch something early. And then there's research on treatments.
Sure.
And what this is really is research on preventing it from happening in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when we talk about Alzheimer's or dementia, we really still do not have good answers
Okay.
on preventing, diagnosing, or treating.
We don't, but if we can get enough information on a economical costing medication as aspirin itself, a low dosage, 100 milligrams, and if it's going to answer some of our questions, if just taking an aspirin a day will decrease that cause or trip to dementia, if that answers the questions, then it's well done.
To success. Aspirin a day keeps the doctors away, right?
Right.
And dementia.
Okay. Well, I want to thank
Hopefully.
our guests, from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Linda Nyquist, PhD, and Miss Denise Cornish-Zerker, clinical research nurse. And hopefully, we can get you back again in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having us.
And I want to thank our millions of viewers worldwide, my excellent technical staff. This is Ronald Berry Robinson and friends saying for the In My Opinion show, stay focused.